All right. We have 10 members, and a quorum is half of those members plus one, and we have that right now as a quorum. So at this point in time, we're going through the change of command of chairperson. As you know, last month, Doug was elected as the chair, the new chair of the Veterans Advisory Committee. He and I have gone through the past month talking about transition and turning over, things that we have been doing in the past and where we're going in the future. And so I think he feels comfortable. So we said, all right, the December meeting will be when we do the relief. And at this point in time, I think we will do it if there's no objections. And normally for change of command, whether it's a commander of an air guard or a battalion commander of the Marine Corps, commanding officer of a ship, basically it's done in front of everybody, all hands, and it's basically a salute and the transition of power occurs. And so the proper thing for me to say is I'll put on my bonnet and say, Doug, I'm ready to be relieved, sir.
I'll salute you. Thank you for your service and your time as the chairman for the committee. And we'll go ahead and continue on with the meeting then.
I stand relieved.
So getting into the opening items, I would love to start with, again, the Pledge of Allegiance. First of all, just to let you guys know, we, from my understanding, and Tanya, you can correct me, is the town has informed all of the committees that we will not have any in-person meetings until until the new year, and they'll make a decision by then. So this is why we're meeting virtually once again.
That is correct.
That's correct. Okay. And with that, I do have a flag. So if you guys can stay seated and just honor for some respect and say along with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
which stands
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Okay. I'd like to move on now to the moment of reflection. And Larry, if you can go ahead and lead that for us, please.
Well, there are just a couple of things that I'd like to say. It's not too much of a reflection, but 3 weeks ago today, I did attend the ceremony at Stumptown Park for the veterans and opening the new monument. And like the mayor said, I think it was the biggest crowd we've ever had. It was very moving. It was well done. The monuments and everything that went up looked great. It's a real tribute to the veterans. I know a lot of people had a hand in everything, but it wouldn't have happened without Mr. Tofano. And I just want to make sure, we all know that anyway, but I just wanted to say that. And it was the best we've had so far. And I think we can build on that. And then lastly, this is the last meeting of the year. It was a tough year. I think maybe we met 3 or 4 times in person. So just to reflect on what a tough year it was, not only veterans, but everybody. I think there's a light at the end of the tunnel coming up with the vaccines being announced. And let's hope next year is a better year and just a moment for everybody that had such a tough time. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I would like to make an addendum to that also. I did receive a call earlier this week from Bill Campbell, one of our newest members. Bill is excused for today's meeting. Unfortunately, Bill's eldest son passed away this Sunday. So I do want, if you would like some more information about that, we can do that. But what I like to do as far as the committee is to get a card on our behalf and send our condolences to Bill. So let us remember that this year has brought stress and strain on many in our community, and to keep them in our hearts and prayers. Okay, with that, we'll move to the introduction of our guest. Of course, the distinguished Mark Tufano is always with us. And this time around, we also have, who's going to be a guest speaker, is Corey King. Corey, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Great, thank you. And did you bring anybody else with you, Corey, please?
I did. I asked the chair of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, Howie Lavender, to join us.
And Howie, are you online?
I am now, thank you.
Okay, I'm not sure if you've brought on your video and if Tanya's already accepted you.
I see him.
I see him. He's on.
Yep, Howie and Corey are both good.
Great, thank you. And thank you for joining us, Howie.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Okay, so with that, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. Before we vote on the approval of the minutes, there was a note from Mayor Higdon in his 9 November meeting, and he did recognize and provide kudos to the MVAC minutes. And he says, as with any military organization, it's very structured and very organized. So Charlene,
hello.
thank you for your, hey, Jim.
And I wasn't in the military.
So with that, he did recognize that. He said we are a model for the rest of the committees, and gave kudos to our organization. So before we go for the approval of the minutes, I just wanted to give that recognition, especially to Charlene, since you always provided those minutes to us. Okay, so with that, we'll vote on the minutes. Everybody has seen the minutes; they have come out for approval. So we will have an aye. So Tanya, if you can go around the room and get an aye from all of the members.
Okay, I'll call on everyone since you're unable to see everybody at the same time. Tom?
Aye.
Fred?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
Charlene?
Aye.
Peter?
Hello. Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Jim? Jim, do you vote yes to approve the minutes?
Myself, yes.
Jim Thurman, can you hear me?
Oh, maybe not.
Jim,
I
can you
see
hear
him.
us?
Well,
Jim, can you hear us?
hello.
Hey, Jim, how do you vote on the approval of the minutes? Jim, can you hear me?
Yes.
How do you vote on the approval of the minutes?
Aye.
Thank you. And Doug, just so you know, because I know you can't see everyone on the screen, but former Mayor Jim Taylor is also on here as a visitor as well.
Fantastic. Hey, Jim.
Thank you.
Welcome, Jim.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to see everybody, and I'm just here as an observer this evening, but it's wonderful to have this group together, and I've been very pleased at what this whole group has done from the time I had a little bit of a hand in organizing this group and establishing it. But I have to say, it probably has gone light years beyond what George Fawcett, who was the one who came to me and asked to put this group together. And as we know, George passed away a number of years ago, but I'm very proud on his behalf that this group is doing such wonderful work. So just want to say hello, thank you, and I'm going to probably be in the background just watching this evening, but thank you for recognizing me.
Appreciate you joining us, Jim. Okay, so with that, we'll move on to the unfinished business. We'll start off with Jack and the treasurer's report, please.
Sure. Okay. Not much change from last month, but I had two items of good news. One is we have $4,648 in our bank, and that's being confirmed by Matthew's finance department. I talked to her today. I also found out that we were wrong in assuming that what we don't spend, we don't get back. It's not true. For MVAC does not have to worry about that. If we don't spend any money, we still have it going forward next year. That's two pieces of good news.
So we don't turn any funds in for the end of the year is what you're telling us, Jack, right?
That's correct. That's what I found out today from Lindsay of the finance department.
Great news. Great news. Thank you.
However, we have a couple of good things coming up this current fiscal year that we will consider spending on, which will deplete much of our budget. So we still need to go forward and asking for the next budget next year.
Correct. That sounds great. So with that, when we get into the new business under that 5-year plan, we'll talk about some of those investments and some of the spending that we have on the agenda. Thank you, Jack. Any other questions for Jack for the treasurer's report? Okay, we'll move forward. So this goes right back to Jack and Peter, and I'm going to default to Jack. I understand that when we did the flag, replacing the service flags on the for the town, now we're going and converting this to the banner project, and I would like for you to go ahead and speak to that. Tanya has a couple of slides of the town and the overview. Jack, you haven't seen them, but I'm not sure if those would be of any aid or assistance for us to use in establishing where those previous banners were. I was assuming that the banners were the ones that are on a light pole going up and down, and we're actually talking about banners that go across the street.
Across the street. Right.
Okay. So start with that, please.
So what's happened over the past, 16 months, Peter? He's done a great job in researching and trying to figure out how and when and where we could put service flags on the two main streets in Matthews to honor the veterans and service members. Come up with several roadblocks, one of which was that where Duke said that their polls would not support a waving flag. Okay. And so after much discussion, and with Peter's recommendation, we decided to table that project. Now, another project that the committee was talking about a year or two or three ago was Peter. Peter, you have anything else to say about that? Peter?
No, sir. No, I'm good.
Pardon? Okay. So the other project we talked about that may take the place of service flags along the streets is banners. If you remember 5 years ago, when we first became a committee, the town went out and bought the town did this because we didn't have a budget at the time, bought 4 banners that said basically, it said that we support you, you supported us, you had our backs, now we have your backs. And that was from MVAC from the town of Matthews. Okay, so we had 4 banners across the 4 major streets coming into the town. All right, so that's a great idea. So why can't we replace the flag project with a banner project that will have the flags, the service flags, as well as the POW and as well as the U.S. flag, as well as the MVAC flag, okay, or banner, across the streets. Okay, so I found out through Tanya Roz works with what committee? With Tanya. That's right. Okay, so Roz was telling me that the 4 locations that we've had in the past are now down to 2. So we can only put up 2 banners, number 1. Number 2 is the 2 locations. Meeting and also talk about when and how we want to float these banners. For example, Memorial Day, Veterans Day, Flag Day. I don't know. So we need to come up with that because there is a demand for those 2 locations amongst all of us in the town of Matthews. So as an example,
I have it. Do you want me to put it up?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. Everyone see that?
Oh, okay, you got it. Very good. Okay. And so we have those service flags as well as the U.S. flag. Oh, by the way, I was corrected. The U.S. flag will go to the left of the Army flag. Okay. So we'll do that. I've done that. And then to the right of the POW-MIA flag symbol, okay, we'll put up the MVAC flag. That's something that the committee needs to look at and decide and go forward with, and then make a recommendation to the town of what we think the town should be doing. I already have one quote for this. I will have a second quote for this in the next day. I hope to have it today, but it didn't happen. So I'll have two quotations for the cost of this. Both would be very close, but one of them is coming from a company here in Matthews that not only does this for the town, but they store these banners, which to me is pretty good. They actually store them and bring them to us when it's time to put them over the street. So,
what does it cost?
Pardon?
What does one cost, ballpark?
Okay, the first quote I got, one cost $535. And two would cost, $1,000. Okay, if you bought three or more, it costs less than that, but that's okay. And I'm thinking that the second quotation that we get from a company that has done business with the town, okay, in the past, in fact, they made those original banners, will probably come in very close to that. So we need to, as a committee, look at this. I'll get some more information. I'll bring it to our next meeting. We can talk about it and make a recommendation to the town as we see fit. That's my conversation.
Okay, I do have one question. So you were mentioning that we would only be able to fly two banners. The times that you're talking about them should not conflict with others, since it's basically on military holidays or so. Would we need two with the flags, or would we make use of the previous banners that we had with parks and recs?
My first thought,
Public Works, sorry.
Right. My first thought was that one of those days we would do the MVAC banners, the town banners that say that you support us, we support you now. And the other day, maybe on Veterans Day, we would do the U.S. service flags. Or maybe we can get more than just 2 days. It depends on what the town approves, okay? But we have to be fairly quick on this. We have to get permission to actually produce and pay for the banners and ask for the dates we want. Again, it could be Memorial Day, Veterans Day, Flag Day. It could be any day associated with veterans and service members. Okay, that's my thought process. And the sooner we do this, the better we'll be. And again, it'll be, from what I understand, very competitive amongst other personnel in the town.
So what is the next? Sorry.
For like a week, to fly them for a week, and gives Public Works time to do that, and schedule it, and in and around one of the big holidays like Memorial Day or Veterans Day, or both, whatever we choose, we just have to propose it to the town for their approval. But they would, I think Public Works would come in a week before we want it up, and maybe a week afterwards or a few days after the event, take it down. I don't think they'll come up one day and put it up and take it down the next day.
No, that's what I understand too. It'll be up there for a week or so. And what I understand is one of these companies I'm getting a bid from will actually deliver the banners to Public Works, and then they will put them up, and then when they take them down, the company will go pick them up and put them back in storage. That's my understanding.
Okay, Mike.
And as far as the two locations, that's what I got from Roz last week. She said there's two locations of the four that still are remaining in effect.
Great. I do have on the map, Tanya, I don't know if you can show slide number 2 for the map, and I'm not sure if it actually would show the locations on there. If we can, we'll send this to you, Jack, and then you can kind of point out those two locations if and when we need to. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be along Trade Street, or is it going to be along the, what is the other main street, our main street that goes through the town there?
John Street.
John Street. So would it be on Trade Street, or would it be on John Street, or are you aware of where those locations would be right now?
I'm not sure. Maybe Tanya knows. I'm not sure at this point.
Okay. Okay.
Corey, do you know, because I know Parks and Rec puts up a lot of banners about your events. Do you know which two Public Works is still actively using?
Yeah,
No.
the two sites on, one is on Matthews Mint Hill Road near Dorian's. I'll actually say at the tail end of the new apartment buildings or office buildings that are going up. And the other one is on John Street near Brewster's.
Okay. Yep. Up further towards the John Street, up towards the, I guess the Matthew.
Yeah, one's gonna be kind of more up this way, and then the Matthews Mint Hill one is gonna be down kind of in the bottom right off of this map.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Then we will skip the other slides that I have over there since they are irrelevant now. Thank you for that. I think the only other question that I have is, do we need to purchase one or two banners? Because if we use "You Got Our Back, We Got Your Back" on one of the positions, do we put that up, like you said, on one holiday, put up both of those, or just have the flag and the "You Got Our Back, We Got Your Back"? That way we only have to purchase one banner, because we can use one or the other. Or do you guys think we need to have two flag banners to fly on those particular days?
I'd like to table that to our next meeting. I'm thinking two, but let's talk about that in our MVAC meeting.
Perfect. Okay. Can do. Okay, so any other questions for Jack? And I know Peter's getting on the end of this one, but on the banner project then. Thank you, Jack. Okay, so item number 3, Veteran of the Year Plan and Transition. Since I have taken over as the chairperson, I would love to look for volunteers for this plan. Earlier this week, I sent out response to our sponsors to let them know who won out of our 6 candidates, what to do for next year, and of course that we would be contacting them in the late summer timeframe for more candidates. I reached out to Jim and to Fred Baylor and looking for them to see if they can assist, maybe tag team, to revisit the plan and work on recruiting for next year for Veteran of the Year. Fred, I'll go to you first. Is that okay with you? Do you see that you can participate and give a hand to jointly lead this Veteran of the Year effort?
Sure, I'll be glad to. I want to get more involved than I have been, and I think this is a good way to do that.
Thank you. Jim, I also talked to you, and I think you would feel comfortable working with another person. So with Fred, between you and Fred, could you also volunteer, and we could send out the previous plan that we have, and then I'll assist you guys with what I did last year to kind of transition that over. Are you still with us, Jim?
Jim, can you hear us?
Okay. We will go with what we have now. Fred, Jim did verbally say he would love to work with someone on that one. We will get back with him afterwards. I'll get with you and him separately and see what we can do and pass you along the information that I currently have. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so next, permanent comment. We have the comments and for admin issues and town council liaison.
Am I back on now?
Now we can hear you.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine with me. I think I had it muted by mistake. Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine with me to work with Fred.
That'd be great. Thank you again for volunteering. And like I said, I'll get with both of you guys offline and provide you what I had done for this past year. Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Okay, so next to the admin comments from the town council liaison. Please, Tanya, if you have anything for us.
I do. One thing, Doug, you and I had talked briefly about the use of town email versus personal email for MVAC business. I do just want to take the opportunity to remind everyone that any business you conduct with the town is subject to public records request. We do not currently require our committee members to use their town email. You can use your personal email, but should the records be requested, you will be required to search your email and provide them to our town clerk for production. Whereas if you do use your Town of Matthews email exclusively, she can conduct that search for you. So just it's more of a convenience that we provide it. And then for the public records piece, it makes it much easier on our end. Should the records be requested, which they have been for this committee before. So just putting that out there. Again, you're not required to use the town email, but it would make public records searching much easier should a request be made. The other thing I'll just mention, I think, Doug, you're going to talk about it in a few minutes. Just the reminder about collaboration with any of the other boards. I know that we're putting in motion collaboration with the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, but if there's any others that you feel the committee may benefit from working with, then let me know and we can coordinate and see what we can do to make that happen.
Perfect. Yep, and we will be talking about that here, especially with our guests that we have coming up. So thank you so much for those comments. The next unfinished business. Yes, sir.
Doug does have his hand raised.
Hey, Doug. Tanya, it was 5 years ago when I wrote down how to get into the town's website in my email. Could you resend that to me, please? I promise I will do that from now on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do that. It just makes it much easier for Lori if she gets a public records request and she can search it herself.
I agree 100%. And I apologize for the past 5 years.
I will pass along your sentiment.
Well, speaking to that, Jack, when I did send out the agenda, I sent it out to everybody's town email, and I also sent it out to their personal email. So if anybody has a concern or request that I withdraw their personal email, let me know. I think any replies that you have back should come from the town email. And one thing I wanted to do was using the personal email was to make sure you saw any items of interest, and then you can go to the town email and reply back to them. So if everybody's good with that, if not, just send me back a note saying that you prefer not to use your personal email. Okay, thank you. So the last item for unfinished business would be comments from any other MVAC member or visitors. So do we have any hands raised for comments for that, please?
Mr. Tavano, do you have anything? Or are you going to wait till we get to the naming?
Yes, I'd like to contribute in that part of the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mark. Okay, so for new business, we have several items listed down there. I am going to, as the new chairperson, make a change. We're going to bring up item number 3 to the top. That way our guests, they do not have to stay for the remainder of the meeting. So that item is the renaming of Stumptown Park. So I'll go ahead and do a quick, I got a few notes over here, and then we'll introduce Corey King and let him speak to the history of Stumptown Park and give us some updates on that and other parks in the area. So before we get started, I do want to let you guys know that on the 9th and the 23rd of November, that was a topic of discussion for the Board of Commissioners. During the 9th of November meeting, the mayor mentioned that he was approached by the American Legion with a request to rename the park to the Stumptown Veterans Memorial Park. There was one question from Dave Bland. Dave originally did not hear the question or the renaming of it well. He thought it was only going to be Veterans Memorial Park and did not want to lose our heritage for the Stumptown name or for everything that we've done for the Stumptown Festival in the past. So his main concern was as long as we keep the name Stumptown in the park, he was okay with that. And that was just on his. So there was no other comments from the rest of the committee members for the Board of Committee members there, Board of Commissioners. On the 23rd, the mayor noted that we have still over 325,000 World War II veterans during a Veterans Rotary Club luncheon. And they also mentioned that they estimate we would be down to 60,000 in 5 years because of the age group of most of our World War II veterans. With that, he says, well, if we do want to have or make or rename a park, we definitely need to do it in the next 5 years before we lose all of these veterans. So that was his comment on there. So he also deferred to Corey King at the time. He was remiss in not having that discussion with the Parks and Recreations Director. So he said that he will defer to Corey, and he also wanted public input to discuss this at their next quarterly meeting for the first quarter of 2021. Before we actually get started, I would like to go back. If Tanya, you can put up the PowerPoint once again. And then Corey, you haven't seen these, but they will be available for you to take a look at. I went to the park the other day, and I wanted to take some pictures around the park of what is currently there as far as signage and what we've done to, with Mark and his team have done to upgrade the park with the Veterans Memorial. So the first one right there, again, is just the Stumptown Park. That'd be one of the considerations if the name was rechanged, that would have to be changed. If you want to go to the next one, please. Okay, and there's the entrance to the park. With the entrance, you have signage on both of the pillars to the left and to the right. So if you go to the next slide, we'll go to the left pillar. And that shows the Stumptown Park naming and the reasoning that we had the name. It says on there, you can't really read it, but it says in the mid-1800s, our community was called Stumptown because of the many stumps left by clearing and the land for farming and logging. That's where the name Stumptown Park originally came from. If you go to the next slide, please. And here on this slide is there a list of there is a list of dedicated individuals who have conducted that effort to make this park possible. And it starts with Jay Lemon, the mayor, goes through the Board of Commissioners and recognizes those folks, town manager, public works director, etc. on that. So I just wanted to show you the current signage for the park. The next slide, please. The next slide is, again, now we have from Veterans Day, the memorial. And this is laid in the bricks as far as the dedication to the Veterans Day on November the 11th, 2020. And we can get these slides sent out if you'd like to see them again. And again, this is inlaid in the bricks. Next slide. So these are some of the efforts. Those of you who did not get the opportunity, I know I was out of town, but this is where the flagpole was. This is what it was before, and then the next slide will show you the after. So Mark has that had that wall built, the American Legions, and now there's a call out for a drawing of the mural or whatever they're going to be, and Mark can elaborate more on that later. Next slide. This is where the actual monuments are. If you go one more, that was before, and then this is the current one where they have inlaid two of them with granite, and they still have four more to be constructed with the granite and the signage. And we'll discuss that here in a little bit. Next slide. And this was the original wall that is where the flags are now. So if you go one more, please. And that is what we have graciously offered with the flags, and then Mark put the wall up there, and we have the service flags all there. If you look at the signage right there in the middle of the bricks, that's where that first slide was. And there's still bricks available for purchasing, for donations for military members or others. And then Mark can speak more to that afterwards also. And then the final slide. I think this is where we're going to get into our second topic, where we talk about the signage and supporting that. But that'll come later. And Jack, I think that you have some quotes and numbers on the plaque, so we'll talk to that slide afterwards. And then the final slide I have here is the Purser-Hersley Park, and that might come into the conversation as I turn it over to Mr. Corey King now. So Corey, if you would, please.
Thanks, Doug. Sharing a little bit about the history of Stumptown Park. Like you mentioned, in the early 1800s, what we know as Matthews now was primarily woodlands, rolling hills. The settlers that came into the area, they were farmers primarily, and to plant their crop, they cleared the trees. And as I understand it, it was a lot easier to clear the tree than it was the stump. And there were, like you said, a lot of stumps in certain areas. And the area just became known as Stumptown. And then Matthews became incorporated in 1879. Fast forward to 1986, the houses in that area, if you can imagine the houses that are around it, or that remain around it, the space that is the park now, the houses began to either be demolished or raised and moved in 1986. And then in 1989, there was a proposal to build a strip mall or a strip of office buildings, much like what's right across the street in Griffin Square. And town leaders didn't want that to happen. They felt the citizens and the leaders also, they wanted to have a space in downtown Matthews where people could gather and, just celebrate. And so they worked with the owner and the developer, and the town bought that property. And then again, recognizing the space or the area that we now know as Matthews, and its reference to incorporation of Stumptown, I named it Stumptown Park. And also around that time in 1990, the town began to realize that a lot of their historic structures, they were losing them. And that sort of kicked off the effort to preserve the Reed House. What's the other one? The Cotton Gin. I guess the Cotton Gin was the one that got away, that I guess town leaders were mostly called it upset about. Really wanted to preserve that, and that just fell in line with, naming the park Stumptown Park and again, preserving that history. There are plans to expand Stumptown Park to incorporate the entire block, save for what fronts on Trade Street and the house that sits behind the vet clinic. Goal is to have the rest of the entire block be the expanded version of the current Stumptown Park. They're only conceptual designs at this point, so that's still call it TBD, but there are some ideas to certainly improve Stumptown Park. Now you mentioned Purser-Hersley. So with that, that is a 93-acre park that's on the northern, western, or eastern part of Matthews. And again, it's not fully developed at this point, but the conceptual designs do incorporate a Veterans Memorial on the site. Again, we are at conceptual design level, so I don't have detail of what it looks like or what it will look like. But thought is, there are a lot of ideas. And certainly we talked to this committee and others to come to that complete design. But there is an idea to create another Veterans Memorial in Purser-Hersley Park.
So my question on that, if I may interrupt there, is on the Purser-Hersley Park. The town already approved, and we have a very fine memorial now at the Stumptown Park. Would there be a need and to rename it, or would we? It's not. We physically couldn't move what the American Legion put in now down to the Purser Park. So would that be are they looking at having two memorials, or what would, what was your proposal on that?
That is an option. Honestly, I don't have a timeline for when Purser-Hersley Park is going to be developed fully. We are moving pretty in incremental steps to develop that site. Very large price tag to build that, what we have as the conceptual design. That's a decision. I'm not sure if we remove what we have in the design for the Veterans Memorial on that site at this point. It'd be a discussion about it.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Corey? I I know I have a couple, but I'll wait until I open it up to the rest of the committee here.
Doug, Jack is raising his hand.
Yes, Jack,
Okay.
please. Go ahead.
So earlier in the discussion, we mentioned to try and have the park named within 5 years because of World War II veterans. So the question to Corey is, will this new park be done in 5 years? And I'm sure he doesn't know the answer to that right now because they have to get into the development of it, but that's something to consider as we go forward.
Exactly. That's why I wanted to mention it, since the mayor did put it out at their last meeting that he would prefer to move swiftly on this. And I think when he's saying swiftly, he's talking about 1 to 3 years instead of 5 years on out. So, within the next year or so. I did do a little bit of research, and I did see that the Hursley Park was dedicated back in 2016. Right now it's garden plots and biking. From our discussions with Corey, it's going to be leased to the town for the next 100 years. It's a co-lease with Mecklenburg County. And that would be another concern is that, what happens, of course, we won't be here within the next 100 years, but what happens after that with the Mecklenburg County? And I imagine that is a economic reason why we're still doing that. Right, Corey?
Well, the agreement is essentially in perpetuity. Back in 2006, there was a Mayor Taylor may be able to tell me what the name of the program was, but it was initiative that Mecklenburg County and the 5 towns. It was a small town initiative, I think it was called.
Corey, let me jump in. I'll help you really quick here, and real briefly, the town did have a some bond money to acquire some land to grow the park structure in the town of Matthews, and that piece of property was targeted. It just so happened that there was some ability to work with the county to get some federal dollars, I believe, or at least some North Carolina dollars to get the land purchased. So, and technically, what happened was that Mecklenburg County purchased the property because they were eligible for the grant. And Matthews never had to go forward with our bond proposal, which saved the taxpayers of the town of Matthews money. And the agreement was, as was indicated, that the town would lease the property from Mecklenburg County. And I believe it was 2 50-year leases, 1 50-year lease for $1 with a renewable clause in there for another 50 years, getting us to the 100. So we have approximately 90 years left on that lease. But it was a financial arrangement between the county and the town, and parts of that 97-ish acres were carved out to allow the town to be able to do stuff outside of the county's thumb being on it. So there's some ability to do stuff that the town can do without the county's say-so or approval. I don't know if that could factor into this at all, but that's the short version of the long story, Corey. And again, it was multiple negotiations between the county and the town, and it all worked out, I think, well in the long run.
And so with that, I think, Doug, what you mentioned about, I guess, the likelihood of that not being a park, I don't think that'll happen. It's the county and the town both agreed it's going to be a park until.
Yeah, the only other caveat, and I apologize for jumping back in. The only other caveat was with this grant, half of the land had to remain passive. In other words, trails or left natural. No ball fields, no soccer fields, baseball fields, etc. But that was a clause that was a requirement of the grant that was granted to purchase the property. So at least roughly in round numbers, 50 acres of that 97-ish, or we'll say 100, roughly 50 acres will remain passive. And all those trails that are embedded within there, that classifies as being passive. So that's wonderful. And I think you're right. The idea is, this is not a new program. The idea is that park will remain a park forever and ever and ever. I don't think there's any indication that would ever change. And with that, I'll leave it back to you, Corey, and I'll be quiet.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, any other questions for Corey? I know I still have a few, but anybody else want to address the renaming of the park and the history, any of the history information.
I'll throw in 2 cents for a second. Number one, I don't think the town of Matthews needs 2 memorials in 2 different locations. I think that confuses people. That may be obvious. But I think before the naming of Stumptown, I think the town needs to come up with the long-range plan. And I don't even know who makes that decision. Do they go out to the public and say, hey, what do you think? Or is it done by the Board of Commissioners and the mayor and everything? I'm not sure how that even is arrived at.
At this point, I'll share that, the town does not own all the property that would take to expand the park. At this point, it's just been discussed conceptually. As the opportunity arises, the town is going to take advantage of those opportunities when we can. And when we are at a point where it's able to create this detailed design, then it will go to the public for, input, but ultimately the approval of the design will go to the town board.
Okay.
Can I throw out a comment? Just wanted to ask, or just kind of bring up, Purser Halsey, if that one's not really all fully developed, my thought is, why do we change history? Leave Stumptown Park as it is. Purser was a veteran himself. Makes sense to me that the land that was where he lived and he was a veteran, that's the perfect spot to rename to be a Purser Halsey Veterans Park. If we're wanting to name a park a Veterans Park, then one that's a newly being developed park, to me, is the one that should be named that. I think that will be a great honor to him since he was a veteran. And I think that correlates more than changing history in our downtown for what's already there. Just my 2 cents there.
Thank you, Charlene. Any other comments on that?
You have Howard that wants to say something.
Yeah, guys, if we're talking about a potential renaming of Stumptown Park or Purser Halsey Park or any other park in town, the situation is going to be what Parks Rec Advisory wants to do would be have a public meeting, allow for public input. I know Mark and you folks and the Hooks Or folks were very active in terms of emails before the last town council meeting. I have heard from some other folks that may not agree with the renaming of Stumptown Park. So what our committee wants to do is set up a public meeting, and the question for my committee, which is meeting next Wednesday, is going to be whether that would be part of our regular meeting or a special meeting. The concern I have is that I think there are a lot of people who want to have a say in this, and both ways. And by having a separate public meeting, we can have time for everybody to talk as opposed to being involved with other things. My intention, and I don't know, Corey and I have kind of had a very basic talk about this, is next Wednesday's meeting would be to decide whether it be a separate public meeting or in our meeting. And because of the holidays and the timing, the suggestion is to do this in probably early to mid-January once the holidays have passed. Also, it will allow us to get a little bit of time out there to advertise it and, let people know this is what's going down. And there are a lot of possibilities. I mean, one is Stumptown Park may be renamed. Stumptown Park may not be renamed. Purser Halsey could be on the table. There's some understanding, and we're checking this too, that we believe that Balcom was a veteran too. So Balcom Park may already be named for a veteran. And also, if there's going to be a change, whether the change is to the Matthews or Stumptown Veterans Memorial Park or something else along that line, we don't know. What we'd like to do is get the public input in January, and then at our February meeting, discuss what we want to do, make a recommendation. We're happy to work with you guys. We're happy to run the public meeting in conjunction with you and let you know what's going down. But I just wanted to give you kind of a roadmap of where we're thinking about how to get this done. Now, Jim Taylor in response to public comments I made was where he said, I'd like to get this done, next couple of months. And that's what we're working on. And if you all have an objection to the kind of timeline, what we're doing, I'd love to hear from you so that we can talk about it in our committee meeting next Wednesday.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Howie, real quick, one correction. You said Jim Taylor, you meant John Higdon.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mayor. I'm looking at you, getting confused.
Oh, Mayor, didn't they tell you? You're in charge of it now.
Let me, if I may, let me make one more comment. And I'm not advocating either way on this. I'm really just trying to make sure everybody has all the facts. There is one additional option, and Corey, I know Corey and Howie are quite aware of this, but there is a 20-acre park option here at the corner of Pleasant Plains and McKee Road, which is part of the Erickson deal, which I'm very proud to have been involved in. 20 acres of land granted to the town of Matthews, plus $1 million to develop that park. Corey, you may have been already working on conceptual plans for that, but that is a blank slate that might be an opportunity for something like this. Again, I'm not advocating for or against it, just making sure everybody has all the information, because that may be something that some of you on this board may not be aware of.
Can I say something else too? When I came to the Veterans Board a couple of years ago, we were in talks then, and we had brought up the idea of having a veterans park, and we were asking and looking for spots. And we came to the town at that time and said, "Is there something we could do?" I think it's the Balkan Park that we were talking about trying to redo there and make it a park where we would have something from each branch for kids to play on. There was mention of, kind of creating a tank and an airplane and stuff like that for them. That was an idea that MVAC had back then, before anybody else has come up with park things for veterans things. We had that idea. I remember Desi was really big on working with this, on trying to do that. So, I think us as a committee need to decide, are we going back to something like that we want to do? To me, if you're going to have a veterans park, it's there's a whole nice concept to have that you could do and make it, something like that. So that's just something to keep in mind too, of an idea we had before, and we had tried to present to the town, and there was some talks then about trying to see about some future park stuff then. And I don't know how many of you all remember all of that, but we talked about doing that.
I remember.
Okay.
So with that said, if I can take another word, when I was talking to Corey did mention the McKee Pleasant Plains Park. I'm very intrigued by the fact that we have a $1 million option, not an option, but the investment plan over there. So there's several options out there. I think what confuses me, being new to the committee and to the town within the last year, is why we would have put the memorial in Stumptown if these other two parks were under consideration for the last couple of years. It's kind of like the town already went ahead and started organized as a Veterans Memorial. And of course, there's a lot of effort already being put into it. So that is something that we do need to discuss. I think
Hey, Doug,
yeah.
May I say something?
Please.
I think we're missing a little bit here in that we're not renaming, I don't think, the park. We're adding to it. Stumptown stays within the name. We're adding Veterans Memorial to it, which I think is a great thing for the veterans and servicemen in our area.
Duly noted, and that is correct. It is correct. So with that, I think what we really need to do is, as we are the voice for the Veterans Committee to the mayor and to the town, that we need to coordinate a response. And I would love to collaborate with the Parks and Recreation team, with Corey and his team, to come up with one voice and kind of move in a direction. So we've heard a couple of options. Of course, we're not going to make any kind of decisions today, but I know Corey and his team are looking at plans for future improvements to both the Purser Hersley Park and at the McKee Pleasant Plains location. So they are making plans for that. So I think our committee would benefit by getting together with theirs, and before they make a proposal or go any further, is to determine what out of the three would be the most likely venue. I did see that there were more than 25 emails after the Veterans Day inauguration that came out. A lot of them did come from our elderly community, specifically at Plantation Estates. So, of course, we had quite a few veterans out there. But like the rest of you guys said, especially Howie too, is that we need to have an open forum and get the community, because, again, not everybody's a veteran. Not everybody may agree, and some people may be feel left out or isolated or alienated. So we definitely need to make sure that we get some type of a petition or something that's going to come out of the Parks and Recreations meeting next week. Which now that I'm aware of, I'll definitely attend that one. So those are all we wanted tonight was open up the discussion with the other possible venues. And again, it's kind of ironic that we already put so much effort into the current park to rename another park or to move the memorial out of that park and have two memorials. It doesn't really make that much sense, but it's something that we need to talk about and discuss. So definitely something for future discussion. Any other final comments? Because we will need to bring this up again with the efforts that we have here. So, any other final comments?
Yeah, I mean, and maybe I'm the odd man out here and don't understand, but the memorial that's there now, that wasn't us. That was American Legion that went to town and put that together. We weren't asked what our opinion was on that. That wasn't something we did. So, we're saying, well, I don't know how to explain it here to you, but I'm just not in understanding why it's like it's us deciding this, because nobody asked us about this park. We asked several years ago about doing a park, but nobody came to us about this and talked to us about this. We could have said at that time, hey, let's do a whole park that's a veterans park.
No, duly noted. And before we move on a little bit further, I do want to say that the Stumptown Park does have several venues. They have a performance stage, dance floor, grill areas, patios, playgrounds, volleyball courts, and previously a Veterans Memorial site that has been enhanced. So, that previously exists. They, as far as I'm aware of, the town did not come back to us to ask about our input for the memorial, unless somebody has any other information to that. But it's there. So, from now that it's there, we need to kind of come to a consensus and I think work with the Parks and Recreations, with Corey's team, and come together with a one voice to the Board of Commissioners with our recommendations.
Doug, would it be appropriate for me to speak at this point?
It sure would.
Howie had his hand up.
Guys, sorry, Mark. I just want to make sure there's not a misunderstanding. The intention for next Wednesday's meeting at Parks and Rec Advisory is to determine whether the public input is going to be at our January 9th meeting or whether it's going to be a different date somewhere there. Our February meeting, if we have the public input, would be where the discussion would go about renaming and all the possibilities. I just don't want anybody to be confused about that. So in other words, next Wednesday, there's not going to be any substantive discussion other than scheduling.
Thank you, Howie.
Thank you. Sorry, Mark. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Floor is yours, Mark.
Doug, congratulations on your chairmanship. And Fred, it's good to see your face again. I haven't seen you in a while. Hey, and Larry, thank you so much for that accolade. It was a great ceremony, and it was something to build on. They're only going to get better from now on. We're here tonight, in my opinion, because of something that happened on Memorial Day, May 25th of this year. The American Legion, as you know, conducts the Veterans Memorials Day and Veterans Day at Stumptown Park. Well, just before a memorial ceremony was to start, I had the color guard go to the flagpole and to lower the flag to half-mast. Well, they couldn't. They came back and said, "Sir, we cannot do this." I said, "Well, why?" They said, "Well, because the tree has grown past the flagpole, and the American flag is tattered and torn and twisted in the tree. So we can't lower it." Well, of course, all kinds of emotions came through me at that point, but one that prevailed was, we can't let this kind of dishonor to our veterans continue. So it was that point in time that I said to myself, and also trying to build a consensus among all of the committee chairmen, is we need to do something about this park. Now, when a tree grows past the flagpole, that's something that doesn't happen overnight. That takes years to do. And so consequently, this particular situation has been going on for quite some time, and those before and after photographs that you showed earlier tell the whole story. This entire area was unkept. There was nothing but bare earth. The walls, the monument that was placed there by the Rotary Club back in the 1990s had algae growing on it so thick that you can see some of the names. There were bricks missing. There was the irrigation system did not work. The lighting did not work. And so consequently, we had to come to a point where we needed to start from scratch. So I asked all of the committee members, committee chairs, and we all met one by one at the park, and along with all of the commissioners. And it was at that point in time that we came up with the conceptual ideas of what this park would look like. And the commissioners graciously granted us the permission to implement those ideas. And they were, in fact, implemented in record time and totally with donations from the public. Over 300 people donated, along with dozens of businesses in the Matthews area. So we have, in what we could do with the money and time that we had available, because we wanted to open it at Veterans Day, is I think, did a fairly spectacular job. And and especially thank you very much, all of you in the MVAC, for authorizing the purchase of all of the flags. They're beautiful. They just really are. Thank you very much. Now, having said that, let me tell you about the plans going forward and how this is even going to be even more spectacular. We are in the process of registering with the National Archives to actually get time capsules installed in each one of those particular war memorials. Those in that center part are all the major conflicts and wars that have happened in the last 100 years. And so consequently, there's going to be a time capsule inside each one of those with material. We have a person who's an excellent historian who's in the process of putting that together. And that is going to be a significant event in itself. For those of you that are driving up and down Trade Street, to be able to see this spectacular mural wall that's facing Trade Street where thousands of cars pass by on a daily basis, we're going to be in the process of, after the first of the year, soliciting for ideas and artists, and we would then submit those ideas to the Parks and Recreation Department and to MVAC and to all the appropriate organizations within the town to go through a whole public review, I suppose, of what that's going to be. So there's a lot of wonderful things happening, and we're trying to get all of this done before Memorial Day, which will make the Memorial Day ceremony even more spectacular. Now, addressing the issue of other parks, we have not honored veterans in this town in a proper way, in my opinion. This is my personal opinion. We could do so much more. We're supposed to be a veterans friendly or a Purple Heart, but we don't really have anybody anywhere that we could go to properly pay honor and tribute to veterans with dignity and respect. What was there before was a dishonor to veterans. So consequently, what we're talking about years out in terms of these other parks, but we have something right now that serves the community very well. There are people that are visiting there on a daily basis that are just they're just enthralled. And I'm really, really pleased with the dozens of volunteers and everybody that poured out their hearts and opened up their wallets in order to make this happen. So that's the reason why we're here. I don't think that if we didn't go through all of this, that we'd be here tonight. It's about time that we had this discussion. It's about time that we started putting a label on something in this town to really make the outside community know that we truly do honor and respect our veterans. And this is how we're going to show it in a tangible way. We're going to take something in the heart of our town and give our heart to those veterans. And so thank you very much for the opportunity to say these things.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you very much, Mark. I do want to ask one question. You said you went to the committee members. Was that at the Board of Commissioners, or was that through all of the other committees,
I think
including
just about every? We had Tom and Howie and Corey and Scott, and we had the Appearance and Tree Committee were active in this. Everybody came by the park, and I gave a presentation on how this was going to unfold. And all the commissioners, the mayor, everybody came by. It was probably a month-long process to build a consensus before we went to the Board of Commissioners. So
that answers my question. Thank you. Okay, so I know we're not going to get that resolved tonight, but there was a lot of effort put into it. So, and Mark did bring up a good point that the area was unkept for a while with the previous memorial that was there. They did an outstanding job from what you guys can see from what we have in there now. But I would like to make a motion that we table this for future discussion with the information that we have. Again, if the Parks and Recreation are going to have a future meeting, I think that'll be great for us to collaborate with them, get some more input. I definitely think that we do need to either work at a petition or whatever they recommend as going forward with that, so that we can bring one voice to the town.
I just have one question for you guys. If we go with our meeting of January 13th as public input, would that be a date that would work with you guys, or is that date going to present a problem? Just as a possibility.
I don't see our meeting conflicting with that. So 13 January, if you're proposing that now, I think that we would be able to be available or make some of our members attend.
I'll be there.
We should have an answer for you guys after the meeting Wednesday night, whether it'll be that night or somewhere right around there. But I just didn't want to go ahead and schedule that and then find out that we were, because of scheduling, we're cutting you guys out of the loop unnecessarily.
Right. Now, I think if we have one voice and we do it together with the parks, and the reason why we have this Veterans Committee over here, our Veterans Advisory Committee, is to advise the town on veteran functions, events. So I think that would be perfect.
Concur.
Again, one last comment. The meeting in January is going to be a chance to share all the information with the public, whoever chooses to attend. And like I said, form that recommendation. I do think, like a lot of information you shared tonight, there's a lot of unknown info that our department does plan to share and make part of the information sharing, for that meeting, to then get that response from the public. And then, hopefully, I'll say February, but whatever date that becomes, to share the info back to the board, the suggestion or the recommendation.
Perfect. Any other comments for Corey before we release him and the other guests that were here for this discussion? Okay, thank you again, Corey, for attending, for briefing us, and for your team. And we look forward to collaborating and working with you guys in the future. I think, like you said, we will have to figure out how we're going to get the town input and make sure that we get, for the public meeting, the message out to the town so that they can have that input also. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, Corey and Howie.
All right, thanks.
Bye. Okay, I'm going to plug in my phone because it's getting ready to die. But before we go we're still on new business. We have a couple more items. I think I want to go to the plaque for the Veterans Memorial and some of the other investments that we want to make, and then we'll save the 1 to 5 year plan for after that. So, Jack, if you can get started with that, I'm just going to find my plug while we're doing that.
Okay, sure. So I mentioned earlier that one of the vendors for the banners came in with like $535 per banner. So if we bought 2 of those, it'd be close to $11,000. And I mentioned the other vendor, who was a Matthews business, okay? I'm thinking be very similar to that. But again, the advantage there is they have the storage facility where they store all of Matthew's banners and flags. So that's a plus for them. But I will have that the next couple of days, and I'll share that via email to the rest of the committee. As far as the memorials or the in the park, Mark, can you give me an update on where we are with that, please? The cost of the...
you mean the actual bronze plaques for each of the war monuments?
Correct, the plaques.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right now we have their weather-resistant printed replicas of bronze plaques. We're in the process of raising funds in order to actually place the real bronze plaques on the war memorials. Now, each one of those with and this is a graciously low price given to us by Matthew's business person, that with the plaque, the shipping, and the tax comes to approximately $1,100 a piece. So now, one of the things I wanted to state as well is, the bronze plaque, which actually says World War I, World War II, et cetera, but on the face of the monument, down at the lower face, sometime in the future will be another plaque that'll actually give the history of that particular conflict or war. So, and by the way, it'll be lit, hopefully be lit by December 7th, which is our Remembrance Day for Pearl Harbor. We're trying to get the monuments, the entire park lit by then, but there'll be a light on each one of the war memorials. So although that's not in the current discussion in terms of having the plaque at the bottom, which is the informative plaque, which would be great for children and adults alike to learn more about each of these conflicts. Right now we're concentrating on just the name of the plaque name at the top. So any help that can be given in that respect would be wonderful. Very much appreciated.
So Mark, if you would send me a note on the cost of each of the monuments, that'd be great. And then for MVAC, I will have in a week or two a summary of the banners and of the memorials, the plaques, okay, and how that compares to what we have in our remaining budget for the year. And we can all look at that, and then with our next meeting, we can talk about it more specifically and come to a conclusion, hopefully.
I think it would be a great idea if we could fund one of these plaques this fiscal year, which ends at the end of June.
I agree. I'm thinking I'll have all the information out to everybody in MVAC before the meeting, and we can discuss it and come to a conclusion at the meeting in February.
I have my hand raised. My question was, I know that at our last meeting, we discussed that we would hopefully have a price for a plaque and then be able to vote on it during this particular meeting so that we can at least get that ball rolling. I think the last that I heard, and I went to get my cord, but was that 1,000 something, or was it 800 something? Can you review those costs again?
The cost is with shipping and tax and everything, it comes out just a few bucks less than $1,100. It's $10.90 something. Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with Jack that we can't really vote on that tonight till we see how much it's going to spend on banners, and we decide we're only going to buy one banner. We're going to buy two banners. I mean, because you're looking, if you buy two banners, you're looking at another $1,100. Then this is $1,100. That takes a big chunk out. So we need to really be thinking about that much money and deciding, we're going to spend all of that before June, or are we just going to buy one banner and do the plaque?
Charlene, I agree with Charlene to table this to our next meeting, because we're going to talk about the 5-year plan. And by the way, within the 5-year plan is the next 6 months. We may have more ideas and projects to work on that may cost a few dollars. So I think we need to table this until the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. If we all concur with that one, let's get a quick roll call, because I was thinking that we might be able to get a roll call on the purchase of a plaque, but it looks like right now we will table that for next meeting. Before that meeting, within the next week or two, Jack will have out some estimates for the plaque and the banners, and then we need to make a decision. Do we need to purchase one or two banners, the plaques, and hopefully come with a voice for an approval on our January meeting?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, because I know we're tabling it once again, and they have a couple of plaques out there that definitely need to be approved or at least purchased here in the very near future if we're going to support that. And I think our next meeting is on the 6th of January. So any other discussions on the memorial plaque and the cost there? I apologize in advance to Mark that we have not come out with a decision today for support for that one. But now that we have with Jack and the treasurer going to provide us with the funding status, we'll make sure that we have that on schedule for the 6th
Doug,
January.
no need to apologize at all. The entire committee has been so supportive, and actually individuals within your committee have been so supportive as well. And so there's no need to apologize.
All right, thank you. So we'll move on. We're getting a little late. That's almost 8:30 now. I know the other item that we had on there that was the number one item was the discussion of the 1 to 5 year plan. There's a couple of folks that made some suggestions already. What I would like to do is also gather more input. I did not put out an email for some of the suggestions, but of course, some of the suggestions would be investment in the memorial at Stumptown Park. And the other suggestion was from one of our members was a scholarship program for the 1 to 5 year plan specifically like for ROTC or something like that. If that would be authorized, that we can do something. So before we close on that portion, did anybody else have any ideas out of their head or out of the blue that they would like to add to that? We can either speak at it now or you can email me afterwards.
Okay, I'd like to say something. I sent a note to Doug and Tom earlier today. This morning, my background is financial planning and 5-year plans and strategic plans. So I started writing this 8 o'clock this morning. At 10 o'clock, I said, wait a minute, this is not good. We have a plan. We have the bylaws for our committee. That is our plan, okay? if we follow these bylaws, we're doing what we need to do. And within that, then we can come up with a 1 year to a 5 year expenditure plan, okay, of ideas. So I think we have the plan, a strategic plan in existence by using the bylaws. So I would recommend to all of our committee members to go ahead and read the bylaws. I'm sure you have, okay, but reread them and you'll see what I'm talking about. So I think we have that. So my suggestion is next meeting in January, we come up with ideas for the rest of this year, like the plaques and maybe the ROTC, okay? I love that. I love that idea, okay? So I think we have something in existence that I don't have to rewrite after 2 hours of saying to myself, what am I doing? So, yeah, we have that.
Article 3 in our bylaws, subparagraph E, basically says that we can plan and organize various and sundry things. This was a change to the original bylaws that we had, and this allows us to do a heck of a lot more than we were initially able to do. So under that, we have a lot of leeway.
I think it gives us the broad authorizations, but to have something in writing, what we want to do in some of the suggestions and ideas so that we can allocate a budget to it, financial wise. And Jack, with your help, that would be greatly appreciated to start looking at some of the efforts. So my recommendation would be, yes, let's go ahead and do that. Can we, if everybody's willing and has any ideas, to go ahead and send those to the chairman, which would be Larry and myself, within the next couple of weeks. We can put that together. And Jack, since you in your last email graciously volunteered with your financial background, we'll work with you to kind of come up with a 1 to 3 to 5 year plan and start writing some of these ideas out.
Can do.
Thank you.
I just have one comment, and just for everybody to keep in mind that, we're an advisory committee to the town. So when we start talking about scholarships and stuff, it's all great ideas, but it's the town that has to do that, not us. We're not a standalone organization, and I don't even know if the town can give out scholarships to junior ROTC or whatever. So, just keep in mind, sometimes we think we're our own thing here, but we're working for the town.
Everything, exactly, Larry. Everything will need to get approved through the town, and
right.
With Tanya, they're helping us. We can bring these type of ideas. But if we bring the ideas available, the town would actually present it as an advisory committee. We would present the idea, but the town would make the presentations or whatever you want to say for those scholarships, if the money is able to be used in those type of efforts. But at least we have to come up, I would think, with some ideas that the town would concur with.
Okay, that's absolutely correct. I just wanted to throw that in there, though.
Larry, good point. Thank you.
I just don't want anyone's feelings to get hurt if the town says, they'll come back and say, we don't want to do that. So, we understand that.
We've been told no before. I think we can handle that.
That's right. We've been thrown out of better places. We've been thrown out of better places than this.
But we got to come up with stuff and throw it to them in order to keep things going, for us.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Okay, so enough on that one. So we'll have that as unfinished business for the next time around, along with the plaque. I think the only other thing that I had on the agenda was that we do have 2 open spots, maybe 3 after tonight. I know that Fred, thank you for coming back and joining us again. Mike Vento, did he ever join us at all this evening? I don't believe he did, so I will talk to him once again.
I didn't see his name.
So if that's the case,
we have spots for 13 people. Right now we have 10.
All right. So Fred is back with us here. If Michael does, if Michael does or doesn't, we have 2 open, possibly a third one. And my only other comment on that was to look at possible venues to advertise for more assistance to fill those slots. And I would be looking for that either through Tanya and the town or the committee on how we fill those and get some additional thoughts, new fresh blood in here for some additional thoughts.
like I mentioned, past meetings, the original 22 people or 22 volunteers back 5 years ago came from an advertisement from the town. So I think we need to use the town's source resources to look for some more people.
Concur. So if you
and ideally we need to use the town to go out publicly like that because we are part of the town. And so someone like Tanya or Maureen Keith would be resources for us to go forward outside our little organization.
And we can advertise again. We did just advertise openings kind of for all the committees. And that's where we got Bill's application, and we got one other application, and that person withdrew their application. But we could advertise again if that's what you'd like to do. I can talk with Lori and we can get that worked out.
Excellent. That would be appreciated.
I wouldn't put anything out personally until after the holidays because people are just too busy. So I think after the first of the year is my opinion.
I think a good topic of discussion in our January meeting.
Perfect. If Tanya, if you can come up with the means or how we can discuss, put that out for the January timeframe, that would be great.
Okay, I can talk to Lori and Maureen and see what we can do. Perfect.
Okay, I have nothing else. I do want to re-mention again that Bill Campbell, with the passing of his son, I do want to send out a card. I will sign it for all of us since we are doing it virtually right now, and send that out to Bill and his wife. Other than that, are there any other items that we have yet to discuss? I know we had some time for the public and the public comments. Mark, would graciously appreciate all the comments you had there. Were there any other open comments from the public? Okay. So with that, I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Yeah,
second.
Okay, thank you, Jack. We got Jack for the second for the emotion. And I appreciate this first time you guys being patient. It ran a little bit longer. I'm hoping that in January we can do this face-to-face. It makes it a lot easier and more personal. And I once again, the mayor gave kudos to us for our notes and our minutes. And I thank Charlene for doing it. And I know, Charlene, with the fact that you did have a very busy month, you did a fabulous job with the notes this last time around also. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll get them out faster this time.
How you feeling, Charlene?
I'm better. I still have a little fluid on my ear, but it's better.
I can't hear you.
I can't decide if I can hear better or not yet. That's still out for discussion.
All right. Doug, don't worry about going over the hour. I mean, our agenda calls for 2 hours of discussion, and we need that 2 hours. We should use that 2 hours. Okay, yeah. That's my opinion. And Mark, make sure the Legion sends out a card to Bill also. Okay,
great. Okay, thank you, guys. Since the meeting is officially adjourned and was seconded, so the meeting is adjourned. Anybody that wants to stay on can continue to stay on and have a discussion. Thank you again for hosting the Zoom over here, and it was greatly appreciated and made my job or our job a lot easier. So, Tanya, thank you so much for that.
No problem.
Good to see everybody. Good night.
Have a nice Christmas. Have a nice
Merry
holiday.
Christmas.
Yep.
Merry Christmas.
I can't believe we're saying that.
I know.
Where did this year go? My goodness.
All right.
Ciao.